Playoff pressure is mounting, and the NFC North throne is up for grabs once again. But the Detroit Lions front office just pressed pause when it came to a defense desperately screaming for help. Year after year, Lions fans have endured gut punches that sting worse than a loss, from Barry Sanders walking away stunned, to Calvin Johnson's sudden retirement, to the soul-crushing 0-16 season that left us all questioning what loyalty even means in Detroit. The playoff surge last season reignited hope. A fierce roar inside Ford Field, a glimpse of the franchise's future trying to emerge from its own shadow. And yet, just when the hunger should be fiercest, just when rivals like the Vikings carve and claw for every inch Detroit's hand stayed still. Contrast that freeze with the Packers maneuvering quietly, shoring up their roster for a late push, or the Bears smelling blood and shaking the NFC North cage. The Lions' defense, thin and battered with injuries and glaring depth issues, was a glaring weakness heading into the trade deadline. Edge rushers gone, secondary depleted, and an offensive line suddenly vulnerable with Christian Mahogany out long-term, broken ankle robbing any momentum that unit had fought hard to build over the last 2 seasons. Fans begged the front office to swing at something, anything a move to echo Dan Campbell's grit and aggressive play calling. Instead, nothing but silence. Why? What does it mean for the stretch run? The answers might shake you. This is Lions News Fan Report. If you bleed Honolulu blue and silver, if your heart pounds to the roar of Ford Field, and you believe in the fight, hit subscribe right now. We hold Detroit's grit and hustle sacred, and we won't blink when the stakes say everything's on the line. Now to the breaking trade deadline fallout. Detroit had the opportunity to jump into the merciless market of the NFL's big fish. The New York Jets unleashed a defensive fire sale trading away Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner and spotlighting edge rusher Jermaine Johnson, a former first-round pick and Pro Bowler, as potentially available for a second-round pick. Johnson would have been the perfect bookend opposite Aiden Hutchinson, a game-changer off the edge to terrorize quarterbacks and elevate a defense slipping every week. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler reported the Jets wanted a second-rounder, and teams were circling ready to pounce. But Lions fans watching their team fumble against the Vikings on Sunday, dropping the 5-3, witnessed their front office do something unthinkable. Absolutely nothing. No trade. No big move to strengthen that exhausted defensive front. The same front office that last year pulled off a bold acquisition for Zadarius Smith ahead of the deadline. Injecting energy and experience let Smith walk this season, where he ended up retiring after a brief stint with the Eagles. Detroit's defensive stall is clear. No edge help, no secondary reinforcement, and an increasing question mark on whether this unit can hold against the NFC North's relentless offenses. Injuries on top of that have thinned the ranks further, with backup rotational players stretched beyond their ceiling. On the offensive side, the situation isn't any sunnier. Christian Mahogany's broken ankle in Week 9 was devastating news. Head coach Dan Campbell confirmed Monday Mahogany faces a long time out, a brutal blow to an O-line that has already seen its dominance slip since. Detroit's NFC North titles. The Lions did make a minimal move, signing rookie guard Jack Conley to the practice squad, a stopgap signal that Tristan Colon or Kingsley Aguakun will slide in to plug the hole for Week 10. Meanwhile, the Browns were reportedly sellers on proven, multiple-time Pro Bowl guard Joe Bitonio and Wyatt Teller players who would have strengthened the line immediately and offered Campbell's offense the protection and push it desperately needs to sustain drives. Yet Detroit, again, stayed on the sideline. No calls finalized. No aggressive moves made. That's not the Detroit Lions identity fans have grown to expect under Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson. The coaching staff thrives on energy, pushing fast, calling bold plays, and the front office should reflect that urgency in roster moves. Winning the NFC North the last 2 seasons hasn't bred sufficiency, but should have sparked ambition. Everyone knows the division is a war zone Vikings itching to claw back supremacy. Packers all season wheeling and dealing. Bears ready to pounce on any slippage. The Lions' failure to act sends unsettling signals that the higher-ups might not be fully committed to this year's championship push, despite a promising 5-3 start. Let's get real about the ripple effect. A defense unable to generate pressure will strain Hutchinson and the entire unit. Opponents will feast on Detroit's vulnerable secondary. Offensively, An O-line compromised by injury and thin depth risks, turning Jaden Daniels' promising season into a guessing game, especially with the QB sideline now with a dislocated elbow. Winning the Week 10 clash against Washington, even as 8.5-point favorites, is no guarantee. Ford Field is where the battles rage, where Ferris wheels spin and hopes are born every Sunday, and the roar from the stands is not just noise. It's the city demanding more. This isn't a time for patience or quiet handshakes. The Lions owe their fans a war chest, and war moves asterisk, 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 not asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. This quiet passivity that feels like a betrayal of Dan Campbell's fire. The stakes? The NFC North crown, a guaranteed playoff berth, and the chance to finally break free from the heartbreak that has defined this franchise for decades. Here's a Lions fan quip for the tailgate, waiting on the front office like it's the last slice of Detroit-style pizza. And somehow it never comes. That's the impatience hitting every fan right now. So what now? Will Detroit's leadership find their spine before it's too late? Can they pivot and add Joe Bitonio and Wyatt Teller if the opportunity still exists, bringing veteran grit to the trenches? Or is this a sign that the Lions are settling for now? Dan Campbell's playbook thrives on aggression. The lack of moves feels like a silent timeout in a crucial drive. The NFC North isn't going to wait. Lions fans, the question is yours. How do you see this deadline playing into Detroit's future? Is this the calm before a late storm or the beginning of a stall? Will the defense hold? Will the O-line survive? Can this team protect its playoff hopes or slide back into the shadows of those painful exits we know all too well? The clock's ticking down. The fans want answers loud and clear. This Lions season and this franchise's identity hangs in the balance. Detroit Lions fans, listen up. What if this isn't the end of the shock, but the start of something even bigger? Imagine the NFC North landscape shifting overnight. Rivals like the Vikings or Bears sensing blood, while Detroit's front office sits on their hands silent watching the window close. The league chatter suggests that the front office is torn. Is this hesitation rooted in cap constraints or a sign they're content with just treading water? Because if they're holding out, it could cost us everything: playoff seeding, home field advantage, the very shot of historic redemption the franchise craves. The ripple is seismic, with Christian Mahogany out long-term. The Lions' once potent offensive line now resembles a sieve. Expect more pressure on Jared Goff, more hurried throws, more risk of turnovers. And let's not forget, the defense that was supposed to be a strength, its limping injuries piling up, edge rushes depleted. Secondary vulnerable. Some insiders say the latest standstill could be the moment where the whole scheme unravels. What really stings is the report that the Jets were willing to part with Jermaine Johnson, a dynamic pass rusher who could have bolstered Hutchinson's side, yet the Lions apparently didn't lock it in. That's the kind of move that could shift momentum, ignite the pass rush, and even fuel a late-season charge. Yet perhaps the front office's silence signals a different plan. Are they banking on internal development? Because if the playoff picture gets murkier, the consequences are brutal. No elite pass rush equals more pressure on Hutchinson, more opportunities for division rivals to exploit our secondary. Remember last season's drama where Detroit's defense was a sieve in crunch time. And the offense, with Mahogany out and the line shuffling, the timing and protection simply aren't what they were. Goff's best weapons need that stability, or we'll see the offense stall at the worst moment. Meanwhile, reports say Cleveland tried to sell off guard Joe Bitonio and Wyatt Teller, veteran anchors who could have brought immediate upgrade. Yet, Detroit, frozen in place, missed that shot. Does that suggest they're doubtful of hitting this season's high notes? Because history teaches us that Detroit doesn't get second chances, not with the heartbreaks piling up: Barry's shocking exit, Calvin's retirement, the 0-16 ghost, and last year's playoff heartbreak. So every missed opportunity smells of another lost chapter. Now, with the deadline ticking, it's clear the Lions are gambling with their future, risking their shot at paying homage to Motor City grit or watching the window slam shut. The defense needs reinforcements, but the front office's non-action hints at a dangerous complacency. Are they waiting for the moral victory of a few wins or banking on internal growth? That could backfire spectacularly. Because if this silence signifies an action, the ripple effect is clear. More pressure on Hutchinson, and the pass rush. More hangs on secondary health, and a rookie quarterback's development like Goff, a fragile balancing act. And if the Lions can't fix that O-line chaos, Week 10's clash with Washington, despite being favored by 8.5 points, might turn into a nail-biter. Ford Field is the battleground for our dreams every play, every snap, every roar from the stands, the city's pride hanging in the balance. And here's the brutal truth. This is not the time for patience. Dan Campbell's aggressive play calling demands equal burns from the front office actions, not words. The NFC North waits for no one. It's a war zone, and the Lions' window could be about to close if they don't act now. We're staring at a possible deadline disaster. Will they pull a rabbit out of the hat, or are they signaling their own surrender? The gamble is real. Their decisions will ripple into the playoffs, into our loyalty, into our very identity as a Motor City powerhouse. And if the front office gambles now, we could be watching the beginning of a dynasty or the death of a dream. It's gut check time, Lions fans, and I'm telling you, this franchise's soul is on the line. We bleed Honolulu blue and silver, and we know one thing for certain. Detroit's grit doesn't wait. It fights, it claws, it refuses to quiet down. So tell me, are you ready for what's coming? Because the stakes have never been higher.